order the meeting. Mr. Bowman, can you lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Melissa, could you give us the roll call? And I have Mr. Ondo here. He's not unable to attend, but he is here attending by phone.
Okay.
Okay.
Councilwoman Fry?
Present.
Councilman Yunkins?
Here.
Councilman Shields?
Here.
Vice President Ondo?
Here.
President Brennan?
Here.
Borough Manager Ty?
Here.
Councilman Vodadian?
Here.
Councilman Eads?
Here.
Mayor Foss?
Here.
Chief Fuller?
Here.
Chief Coles?
Here.
Solicitor Vacevic?
Here.
Here.
Public Works Director
Here.
Bob Vicey? Code Enforcement Officer?
Here.
That's it? And the college board?
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so I just alluded to the executive session that we held earlier this evening. So President's report, not a whole lot to report this past couple weeks. Obviously, we're working on a couple of things for employees. We're working on the electric stations for the electric, I guess you call them electric garbage trucks or rechargeable garbage trucks. And I know that the Public Works is, if you drive around the town, you'll see all the leaves being blown out into the street, and we'll ask Bob Vicey how that's going along that project. A couple other things going on with the borough. I'm not sure the light up night that's going to be, but the mayor can report on that. And I know that we have a couple of tree projects that we want to put out up and down Main Street, which we talked about the last meeting. And I certainly would like to see certainly several groups get involved in that. We started last year with one Christmas tree on Main Street, and I think it would be a nice thing to put out there in several spots. And Rini, you can elaborate on the spots that are available where there's power. I certainly would like to see the school put something up there. Would be nice. And I think I would certainly think that the Jewish community and any other communities that are in the borough, if they'd like to put a menorah or any other religious symbol out there, everyone is invited. It's not just a Christmas tree. It's certainly for all of our citizens. So that being said, I'm going to pass this off to our movie star, Mayor Falls. Mayor, do you have anything to say?
They cut my speaking rule out in a 30-second commercial. I had a speaking rule. I was cut out of it.
You talk too much.
Later. But my speaking rule was cut out, so that's why I was just standing there with an angry-looking face.
Well,
They're sitting there with an angry-looking face. But the Borough Light Up Night is going to be Friday, December 6th. I've already been in contact with Santa, the high school band, the Scouts, Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, the high school choir, and also the Munhall Community Band wants to come up and do a little performance also. And they're all doing it, there's no charge for anybody, to come up for the bands to play. So that's all set for December 6th at 6 o'clock. We are going to have our Small Business Saturday, I was going to say Friday, Small Business Saturday on November 30th. It'll run from 1 to 4. There will be entertainment, Christmas music, vendors on the Main Street Business District, similar to what we do in the summer for the market nights. So we're just doing it in the daylight hours from 1 to 4. And there's also a window decorating contest for the businesses on Main Street. Munhall Cares has is gonna generously give, the prizes out for first, second, and third for windows, and they can vote for the windows on the Munhall Cares site or the Ask Mayor Falls site once they come up. And of course, the tree thing, I know the Boy Scouts were contacted by Rainey, and I talked to Ray from the Scouts, and they are gonna be doing a tree. I think the Garden Club is also doing a tree, so I'm sure we'll have many more. So it'll be nice, as long as we get enough power up there. The Girl Scout has her place grandfathered in. She has the same spot because she was right on top of West Virginia, right by the apartments.
The other Girl Scout.
So her spot is, because she was started this all, so she has her spot already down. No one can take her spot, I don't think. But that's all I have for now. There's not much else going on, just busy with the holidays and stuff. And we do have this Friday and Saturday. If you know of a needy family, let me know. The food bank at Duquesne will be giving out turkeys and all the trimmings, and it will be compliments of U.S. Steel and the Mayor's Charitable Foundation, which is a new group started up with, so far, they said we have 21 mayors in the system, 21 mayors in this group from Allegheny County. Unfortunately, I think they're only going up to 1,000, so we can't have all 1,000. But there are, I would guarantee that I could have so many. So let me know if anyone knows of a needy family. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor.
Questions? Happy to take them.
Any questions for the mayor? Okay. I just wanted to add something else that was brought up in our last packet from last week, and just a note for all the business people out there on Main Street in Munhall and West Homestead and Homestead boroughs. They are starting a facade grant program. I'm not sure how much the grant program is allowing, or what, if it's matching funds, or how it's involved, but it's done through the Steel Valley Accelerator.
Enterprise Zone.
Used to be the Enterprise Zone, correct? Now they call it the Steel Valley Accelerator. And I'm not sure when the dates start and stop, but certainly just touching with the public at large, and anyone who might be interested in that. It might be something that some of the local businesses might want to do.
I didn't make the meeting last night, but I'll get all the information for next month's meeting.
Okay.
From the Enterprise.
Yeah, and I think they do have
usually skip the December meeting.
Are we gonna skip it?
They usually, in the past they have.
Okay.
They
Just
do
because
have
of the
an
holidays.
executive director, Sarah Forward, and I'm sure that there's probably a contact number that someone could call, the Steel Valley Accelerator, or Sarah at steelvalleyaccelerator.com. She could be touched that way as well. So moving forward, could I have the solicitor's report?
Yes, thank you, President Brennan. I don't have anything specifically to report this evening. I will be speaking about a couple of the discussion items. I'll wait till we reach that point in the agenda. Under Roman numeral 8, the R2 zoning ordinance and the tax forgiveness. So when we get to that point in the meeting, I'll have comments about those two items. That's all I have at this time.
And at that point, those are just up for discussion for right now, right?
Right.
Right, so it's informational.
Correct.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Engineers report?
Thank you, Mr. President. I've nothing new to report for this month. Still waiting on that money from GEDTF for Creek Street. Other thing we have going on, we have a couple manhole or catch basins being replaced through a COG grant. Those guys have been out for the last month or two. Unfortunately, the owner of the company had an accident, so his sons are kind of picking up the slack, and they should be done within the next month with that. That's all I have.
Okay, any questions for the engineer?
Yeah, anything on the Creek Street situation, any up to date?
He just said that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my hearing aid's not on. As far as grants, where do they go? As far as grants, how far off are we from paying the money?
Hopefully that one comes out in the next month. the GDTF,
Will that be enough to cover the cost?
yes. So we have
100%?
500,000 for that, and then we got 120,000 from the conservation district.
Okay. So we won't have to budget that for next year.
It's not as if we get all the money.
Well, I know Dave doesn't like to budget grants for the following year.
Specifically for that question, I made educated guess. We already get 145 from the conservation district, another 145.50 from GDTF, and I budgeted 200,000 the borough would have to do to cover it. I figure that's a good cut deal.
Okay.
So it is budgeted for us covering portion of it.
Man,
But if we get it all, then that's great.
you've been up at the new area that fell down up there in the creek,
The wall.
the wall up there, by the West Mifflin pump station, right down from it.
I haven't seen it.
I'll call you when we stop by and look at it.
That's the wall we're not sure if we own.
By the looks of it, same thing down the street, but Mickey did all that stuff. Same wrought irons there and everything.
So I did drive up Creek Street and look, and it hasn't really budged a bit, so it looks pretty solid right now. I was up there in the last week, I believe. I drove up there and took a thorough look at it, and nothing's really moving.
I think the vegetation that grew in the last 8 months really helped.
Yeah, it has settled down a lot.
Good. Any other questions for the engineer? Okay, let's move on to code enforcement.
I'll briefly go over my report. You have a copy of it. Building permits issued 16, leading letters sent out 26, code enforcement issues, weeds 3, garbage 2, containers 2, roof repair for 4, motor vehicles 2, dumpsters 3, exterior walls 1, and infestation 1. Court hearings, we had 9 guilty court hearings, total of $7,225. 12 were removed because they came into compliance. 4 that they were given continuances, and there was 4 that came back as bad addresses. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for our code enforcement officer?
I do have one question. The parking lot on Ravine Street, the guy, Dave, said that he works on cars in the springtime as a hobby. What's going on with that? Because I see the junkyard is piling up more and more every single day down there, and it looks absolutely terrible when you turn on the Ravine Street. And there's cars down there now, windows are smashed out. I mean, when to a point is it going to be a repair shop, or are we going to start enforcing that?
Well, he is considered he is permitted to have a repair shop there.
Okay, is he permitted to have a painting shop there? You don't have a painting booth,
No,
a little painting there.
okay.
I mean, how many cars are you allowed to park on that property that just look like junk cars? I mean, Copart's on Byron McCullough looks better than that place down there.
Yeah, I'll have to go down and look
And
and
they
see.
specialize in crash vehicles up there. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I mean, they're allowed to have, like, I'll have to go down, they should be contained in the parking lot. I think the police are still police are, I think,
We've been down there several times and towed.
Keith, I know you guys were telling somebody, it's getting worse. And
I'll send somebody down.
I went down there yesterday to go to work retired. I turned on Ravine Street. I don't know how people who live down there aren't sitting here complaining about how bad it looks.
I'll go down and look at what he has inside to see, you know, the stickers and how long they've been there.
Any other questions for the zoning officer? So Dave, I did have a question for you. I'm trying to remember what it was. I'll come back to you later when I remember. It wasn't really anything of matter of importance, but
You'll remember.
I'll remember. Public Works report?
Yeah, we're still going around with the leaf truck. We'll be around for about 6 more weeks until we get it all done. Doing some crack sealing on the newer streets when it's dry enough. It has to be dry.
Been hauling out a lot of dirt back here that came from,
I seen the guys moving the dirt. Where are they moving it to?
I've got 3 or 4 different dump sites.
Nice.
Trying to get rid of it for free. I don't
Yeah.
want to get rid of it. And that's about all I have.
I got a question for you. 8th Avenue, there is a catch basin. It's got cones in front of it. It's tipped up there. It's right on the avenue. Is that the state's responsibility? Is that our responsibility?
It'll
But
probably
it's
be
it's a
ours.
mess.
It's probably be ours.
Can we do anything with it just to make it a
Is that the
little
one
bit
by
safer?
the,
A little bit safer.
where the buses come out?
It's the one in Dixon Street.
It's right on Dixon Street, right in the corner of Dixon and 8th Avenue there.
He was off. That's the one I called you about when you were off.
Yeah, that buses keep running over.
Is that what it is?
PennDOT came out, they're gonna fix it.
They're gonna fix it?
Yeah, they came out, they got all their PennDOT cones around and everything.
Oh, okay,
I called Scott,
That was probably when you were off, like a month ago.
okay.
and they're supposed to come out and fix it.
Okay, because it needs really addressed, because it's not safe. And I wanted someone to make comment on the, and we spoke about this last week's meeting, about the light at 22nd Avenue. So, Chief, you want to speak about that light? You know about the grant that we're getting?
I know more about it.
All right, Dave, you want to speak
I
about
was
that?
gonna talk about my manager's report.
All
That's
right, I'm sorry,
No,
I'm
no, it's
stepping
fine.
on your toes.
Specifically, there is an initial letter that is required to be submitted for this Green Light Go grant program.
Right.
That's due this Friday. I spoke with Traffic Systems today to see if I can get an estimate for the cost, and they said, he does not have enough time to give me a broken down cost of what it would cost to fix that light. But he gave me, because you have to dig in the ground, you have to fix a bunch of stuff, cabling underneath the street, roughly $20,000. So I'm gonna kind of get some detailed numbers for our grant writer, Dan, to get to him tomorrow, and then he can submit the initial request for basic interest. And then I can have Traffic Systems, maybe a couple other companies come out and give me a quote, and then we can hopefully have specific numbers for a full grant application.
Thank you.
That is moving forward.
I didn't want to, I'm sorry I stole a little bit of your thunder just talking about that, but certainly the public wants to know about that light. And I have family members that are bugging me about the light as well.
Oh, everybody is. I have a question, Mr. Dyson.
Certainly.
Can we use the vacuum for the leaves? Is it possible to use that in the springtime for cleanup also?
Yeah.
You have debris down from all winter long, branches come down. We don't have a street sweeper, we should have for years. And is it possible to use that in the spring too?
Yes.
Yeah, I can, if you're interested.
Do we use it in the
Moving
spring?
forward.
We haven't, but we can.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, we can.
Springtime cleanup with the vacuum. Can use it just about everywhere.
Sure.
I have another question for council. What do you want us to do for as the Christmas decorations? Do you want both buildings again or just one?
I think both buildings would be appropriate. I mean, it's right on Main Street. I mean, right on West Street.
Okay.
I think both, but highlight this borough building a little bit more. Because last year, I think we could have done a little more in this borough building here. But, I'm fine with, lighting up both, but a little heavier here.
Problem here, there ain't many outside plugs. We'll have to find some.
One question too, Bob, the weeds that I've seen a complaint about on my site, they're blocking Whitaker Way, and I know it's coming off of Waterfront Ridge Drive. That's county property?
I don't know.
Because I've got a, complaint that's, they're pretty high, and
We
in the
normally cut
picture,
it.
they look kind of high.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's blocking the view of people coming out of Waterfront Ridge. It possibly looks like it from this picture they sent me.
Is that the flyover?
No, this is.
Number 5.
The weeds are still blocking the view on Whitaker Way. He has a sign here of Waterfront Ridge Drive. That looks like, that's not the flyover, right? No, that's coming down Whitaker Way, by the fire hall.
That's a right of way that goes to the fire hall parking lot, right?
Yeah, we maintain that.
Yes.
It's on the list.
We can go take a look at it, if it's possible, if it's blocking it out, I don't know when the county would come out and do it, even if it's county
It's
property.
actually a state road.
That's state, right?
Yeah.
Whitaker Way State, that's right.
Bob, 10 hours ago, somebody put on the borough website, and unfortunately, the leaf machine is out of service until further notice. Is
I
that
saw
true?
that too.
Is that true?
No, it'll be,
It's, I spoke to Scott today about it.
it was just a broken part they picked up.
Scott says it will be picked up and fixed tomorrow. So,
Okay.
yeah, sorry about that.
You're taking Homestead's machine too Friday also, correct?
Yes.
All right, so there'll be machines out there.
So can you just explain for the public how that works? Do you go to every street, or do you have to call in and say, hey, I have leaves here that
Well,
need to
up
be
in
picked
like
up?
Hamilton Hills, we just do the whole one side and then come down the other side.
The leaves go to the cemetery?
And we dump them out there,
How about here?
yeah.
I thought they used to go to Jefferson Cemetery years ago, many years ago.
Yeah, well, it would take 2 main trips,
Okay, it takes a lot of time there.
yeah.
So do they just do that area, or do we do other areas?
So we do it all from, wherever they call in.
So people should call in if they have leaves?
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at. Because I drive by and I'm like, people raking leaves up, but how do we know where to get the leaves at? So they need to call and request for leaf service.
Yeah.
Got it. Great.
There's more or less a regular route though.
Yeah, like in Hamilton Hills and then lower Munhall.
Right.
We go around the library.
You
We
get a
go
lot of
around
parked
there 4 or
cars.
5 times.
That's
get an area-
exactly what I was thinking down there.
When you get a lot of parked cars, it's hard to do it.
Yeah, well, we blow them out on the street,
Yeah.
so.
Any other questions for Bob? Okay, let's move on to the chief's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council, has a copy of my report. For the month of October, officers responded to a total of 679 calls for service, made 27 arrests, conducted 61 traffic stops, and issued 28 traffic citations. Extra duty, officers worked 192 hours of extra details, 120 hours of regular overtime, and 55 hours of court overtime. The entire police department needed to be recertified in the following: CPR, first aid, taser, and defensive tactics. They're all completed. And this coming Friday, November 22nd, is the 3rd annual Munhall Police and the Best of the Best Foundation annual turkey dinner drive. It starts at 4 o'clock.
What was that date again?
This coming Friday, the 22nd.
This Friday.
And that's all I have, if you have any questions.
So Chief, I just have one question. I think it's great that you guys got all certified. And I think I brought this up before in the past about maybe teaching people how to do CPR and having classes with EMS or with police officers, whoever's trained to do that. I think we should do that. I think it would be awesome to have the people come into the town, into the borough building, into the police station, wherever you want to do it at. I think just throwing that out there.
Okay.
Okay?
I'll definitely look into it.
Thank you, Chief. Any other questions for the chief? Okay, fire chief's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. You have a copy of my report. For the month of October, we had a total of 41 calls, 24 in-town, 17 mutual aid requests. Our average times from time of dispatch to the first vehicle en route was 3 minutes and 50 seconds. And for the first unit to be on scene was 5 minutes and 50 seconds. Not much going on this month. I don't know if you did hear though, we did have an incident at the Homestead Park Methodist Church towards the beginning of the month. The best way to describe it is you could be thankful that there was a fire alarm system in the building. They did have a fire at the altar.
Is that where the wedding candles?
Yes.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah. Being that the fire alarm did activate, that was stopped right at the altar with minimal damage to the church.
Wow.
So, you know, if anybody says, why do I need a fire alarm system, you can use that as a good example because that probably saved that building. So, but other than that, that's all I have for right now.
Any questions for the fire chief? Okay, we'll move on. Tax tax collector's report.
I have the numbers for that.
All right, go ahead.
To date, the tax collector has collected $4,697,340. She's expecting maybe another two to 300,000 collected by the end of the year. And that would put us, that'll put us in a pretty good spot, actually. So,
Okay.
change orders, there've been a lot of change orders this year. The total, additional taxes added to the payroll, to the tax rolls is $32,990. And refunds are $45,621. So we're a little behind on that, but not as bad as been in past years.
Okay.
And hopefully the change orders are gonna slow down soon. They're quite the cumbersome for the tax collector process.
Okay. If there are no questions about that, I'll move on. Parks and Recreation report, Ms. Fry.
I am happy to tell everybody that hearing Mayor Falls say that the Boy Scouts are definitely, we were communicating back and forth. But if he's saying they are, there will be 8 trees on Main Street. Still Valley Ironman, the school district is putting one up in front of Wolf's Pub.
Good.
The Girl Scouts, one on each side, East Virginia, West Virginia.
Good.
Savoska's Funeral Home in front of theirs.
Who's doing that one? The Girl Scouts?
No, Savoska's.
They're doing it themselves?
They're doing
Okay,
one
very
themselves.
good.
In front of Green's, it's not going to be Green's Funeral Home, it's going to be the Munhall Garden Club.
Okay.
Up at the War Memorial on Carolina, Maine, Mr. Rondo is going to donate the Veterans Tree. He's going to have a live tree with red, white, and blue lights on it, and ask that any veteran who would like to put something on that tree, please do so.
Thank you, Mr. Rondo.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Rondo.
Mrs. Fry,
Yes?
I don't know about a live tree. I was actually thinking of an artificial, because a live one, and we got to dispose of it and stuff like that. So I was actually thinking of a artificial tree with red, white, and blue bulbs on it. And then if any veteran wants to hang a bulb or an ornament on her, that would be good.
I agree. Thank you, Mr. Rondo.
Not to, one thing to remember though, no, probably best to put only plastic bulbs, no glass
Oh, yeah.
on the trees, so we don't have a mess.
Yeah. And the last one is the Munhall Girls Softball is going to put its tree up at Park School. That's my report, Mr.
Great.
President.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the Parks and Rec Chairman? Okay. Just to stop a second, because it was been mentioned about the veterans, and I just want to thank Mr. Rondo for giving his day up this past Saturday. I know that they took all the banners down this past Saturday, and they did it in a record time of 3 hours. So I just wanted to thank everyone involved who volunteered their time and served the borough in doing that. So thank you all for volunteering.
Thank you for saying that.
Yep. Okay, let's move on to the Munhall.
Mr. Brennan.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have a question. I should have jumped right in. Is there any word on the boiler over the old borough building?
Well, I was going to get to that question at the manager's report, but now that you mention it, I don't know that. So, do you want to just wait till Dave gives us his report?
Sure.
All right, we'll keep that in mind. Thank you. So, let's move on to the Munhall Sewer Authority report.
Well, because there's so much going on there, President, we just send you over our minutes for our meetings. If you have any questions, you can ask us. There's so much going on.
What's going on?
Just a bunch of fixing pipes and everything that we have to do.
Okay.
Progress.
Progress, growing.
Awesome. Okay, any questions for the Sewer Authority representatives? We haven't had the president here. Or, I mean, the past president and this president, I'm sorry.
Well, I did go to that meeting and they know. It was mentioned about property. Have you gone any further with that option, or is it not defined yet?
Not defined yet, but we are working to.
You just ask Dave, he's right next to him. He's the president.
I know.
We send our president to every one of your meetings.
Okay, are there any other questions? If not, I'm gonna move on to the manager's report.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. Budget update, the most time-consuming thing I'm dealing with right now. Reminder for the public, this Thursday, there's a public council budget meeting to hammer out the budget. And we're pretty close, I think just a few little tweaks and we'll be right there. And then on December 5th at 6:30 PM, there's a public meeting for the public to come and offer their opinions about the budget. Starting this Friday, I'll have copies of the budget available for review from the public. Just come to the office or email me.
What time is the budget meeting on Thursday?
6:30 for both meetings.
I may miss that. I may have to be out of town.
And when is the public meeting today?
December 5th.
Oh, the 5th, okay.
Thursday afternoon.
Okay.
What time on Thursday?
6:30 for both those meetings. And then, right, it's right, it's in your report, but
okay.
December 5th and November 21st.
What's December 5th?
That's the public.
I thought you said December 6th. 5th?
Yep.
Okay.
And then, if everything goes well, we should be set to vote on the budget and the tax rate on the next standard council meeting on December 17th.
Okay.
That's the deal. So that's progressing well.
Mhm.
Updates on grants, we received notification from the Allegheny County Health to receive $186,000 for electric garbage vehicles. That will cover most of our own commitments to the grant program we received from the state. So we're looking good in that regard. We have to pay a few other things like paving underneath when we install the electric charging station, and fencing perhaps, things like that, but we can fit those into the budget. But this covers almost everything else. We also got notification that we received award from the Keystone Historic Preservation Fund of $6,300. I believe that is for the Kennedy Park project. So that's coming through, that's 50%, so we have to cover $6,300 ourselves. We have submitted 2 grants for the Main Street project we're working on. One to the LSA Local Shares account and one for Main Street Matters, both are state funds. And as I mentioned before, we're sending an initial grant application this Friday for Green Light Go for the 22nd Avenue traffic light repair. Other items of note, the contract with Transdev, formerly First Vehicle, is expiring, and we need to determine who we want to go with. It's a complicated issue in terms of finding a company that can handle the variety of vehicles that we have. They are expensive, but talking with several people, they may be the best option in terms of cost, because some of the highlights of the program, we basically spend a certain amount of money per month to cover all the vehicles in our fleet. And that covers general maintenance and repairs. Anything that's outside of the standard wear and tear is repaired for by the mechanic that works for Transdev in our garage. And the nice thing about Transdev is we purchase any repair items at cost. We get the wholesale value of the item to repair. So if we took it to a shop or went somewhere else, we might have to pay a much higher rate for actual parts. So it's something I think we can continue on for the next month or so. Councilman Eads wants me to look at other options, so I'm going to do that this week and try to see if there's some other potential companies out there that could fulfill the same service that we're getting with.
I've heard pros and cons, on,
I mean, we're 12 days away, well, we're 11 days away from the contract expiring. You know, is there any provisions in there that protects us? They come in and say, you know, hey, December 1st, you know, since we don't have a contract.
There is, I think, an understanding of flexibility with TransDev that if the contract is not renewed, it continues on a month-to-month basis.
But we have that on paper because.
I will get it.
I want to we gotta cover a butt on that. If someone says, oh, well, no, next month it's gonna be $30,000 a month instead of $20,000.
I will get some confirmation from them as we negotiate whatever contract we get.
so they do work on police vehicles?
Police, all of our public works vehicles.
And fire?
Fire.
So, in your meetings with, you know, your heads of each position, have you talked to them about, are they happy with?
As far as I can tell, all people I've spoken to, they're satisfied with the actual maintenance of the vehicles.
Okay.
The person we have back there, John Chismar, he is very skilled. Like a lot of mechanics out there, they might do really well with police vehicles, but with brake and garbage truck, and vice versa.
Right.
John can handle everything we have.
Well, that's awesome, because like you said, diesel mechanics work on diesel stuff, and this one does work on that, so it's hard to get a guy that's good, that can jump from one to the other, so that
But
means a lot.
I understand your concerns, Tim. I will get something in writing and then we'll move forward. And I'll make sure that we're covered and we find the best option for them.
To make sure that if you do talk to someone else, that they would have a mechanic there every day, like we have now.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I think that's really a great thing that we do have a mechanic there
So
every day.
Tim, just to make a statement, when I first got on council, I looked at those numbers too, and I thought, wow, this is astonishing. How are we paying all this money? But we have a lot of vehicles.
No, President, I agree. I agree with you 100%. I think, you know.
Can't hurt to look either.
You can't hurt to look, and there's not one person holding us saying, hey, we're doing all your work. Yes, we love our mechanic, but, you know, we can't want to raise taxes and we're paying, you know, big numbers that we can possibly save somewhere.
Okay.
I mean, it's been how many years? I mean, we gotta definitely look to see if we can save something.
Yeah.
Okay. Dave?
Okay, yeah, moving on. The salt bin needs to be moved where it is from its current location. The Duquesne Light does not like its location because it interferes with the power lines. So sometime in the mid-spring, when the snows are gone, we have to move forward with a plan. I'm working on getting an actual budget established and a plan for the council to review, but we kind of have to move it this next year.
So you're talking about the power lines for the new charging station?
No, this is separate from that entirely.
Really?
They don't like the salt bin being close to their lines back there.
Okay.
So, yeah, they basically said you can move them.
And you said it's causing our vehicles to rust faster.
Well, that is a factor too. I wanted to move it too, but I was gonna push it back to 2026 to move it off site entirely, but we have to kind of move it somewhere back there in the parking lot down there.
Okay.
We don't have a place to do it right now.
Okay.
So, yeah, I know we definitely need to be moved anyways, but it's a little faster timetable than I usually wanted.
Okay.
Going with that, we also need to pave basically the lower parking lot to put a salt bin underneath it. We don't have to necessarily pave the whole parking lot, but if we're doing it, we might as well do the whole thing. But we need a new paving underneath where we're gonna put the salt bin and probably cement pad. And we need to put a paving underneath the new electric vehicle charging station, which I think the only place we can do now is put it where the salt bin is.
Okay.
What, the charging station?
Yep.
That's where Seth was gonna put it from the door.
It's close to the stands, which I don't like, so I might want to build a wall, a large wall, just to isolate it from any kind of chemical fire that could happen. But I don't have any other place to put it, so that's kind of where we are. But we can continue talking about it. We've got time to install the charging station still. But we need to pave underneath both the salt bin and the charging station before we do.
So when you say pave that back lot, are you thinking that we can pave that ourselves, or are we thinking we put that out to
We
bid?
might put out the bid and see if we can because it's a large area.
It
We
is
can
large.
do it ourselves, but it'll take, I think, longer.
Okay,
And a better use of our staff in other areas.
okay.
With the mayor's urging, I applied for the Allegheny Municipalities Banner Community Program for 2025.
Thank you very much. And you know, what, the bonus of that is we get one free registration, which saves us a little over $400. And I'm sure we'll get the banner community again. I mean, it's nice to have that.
We have ordered 2 new GPS units for our last 2 DPW vehicles. There were 2 that didn't have the units, so we'll get them in there in the next couple weeks. There was a concern of just concern that some of the vehicles are not being tracked effectively, so. The next thing is, as discussed at the workshop, Chatham is interested in renting the second floor, some of the second floor space we have. Just preliminary, need to work on some numbers, I talked with Greg about contract and move forward with that, but they're interested. And Carlo also is interested in the other side. So the second floor, the field side would be what Chatham wants, and the away from the field towards the back parking lot would be what Carlo wants for lockers and meeting space. So very preliminary, but they're still interested to update everyone in the public about that. I've met with 2 auditors for next year's audit, Brian Chruschel and Joseph Zofko. There's a third one I'm supposed to meet with as well. Both are great improvements of our current auditor, so I'm sure fine with either of them, but I'll give a recommendation to the council for next month on and the reports on each of the individuals for a vote to who we want for an auditor for next year. And Bob, would you like to respond about the boiler?
I'm meeting the guy tomorrow,
Okay, there we go.
so hopefully by the end of the week we'll have heat, hopefully.
Awesome. Who are you meeting?
Brad Horster.
Good. Okay.
That's all I got.
I got a question for you.
Yes.
Dave. The 2 remaining DPW vehicles getting the GPS,
Yes.
is there a reason why only our union employees have GPS in their vehicles?
Not specifically, that's just what it was set up. I can expand that as needed if you want me to increase the range of that, we can definitely do that.
And if we're babysitting our union employees, we should babysit all of our employees.
Wouldn't classify it as babysitting, but I can look into adding that.
Mr. Ronda, did you have a question, or did I hear you say something there?
About the boiler in the old borough building.
Yeah, it was just mentioned that Bob is going to be meeting someone tomorrow to take a look at that, and hopefully we'll have it by the end of the week.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I know there's still interest, they've contacted me, the Munhall Cares still want to, use the garage, and about the free store, I think would still like to come up and I think there is one person that's still, if the building's accessible, would still like to rent the borough building.
I would love to see them get in there and do that. I
know there's been some work done though.
The program that was given to us by the firemen last week was great, but it depended on grants and lots of money to be coming in, $8 million.
That's years away.
Years away.
In fact, they know that, there's probably
5
to go
years
before we
probably.
get to that.
So,
Well, I don't know if somebody is interested in a short time, a short lease, knowing as they're coming in, hey, the firemen's, if the project maybe come through, we may only be a short term.
okay. All right, David, anything else?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to the, to approve the minutes for September
October, sorry, it's
2024.
October.
That's okay. I was just going to read down to item A, October 15th, 2024 council meeting minutes. I need a motion. Motion. Motion by Dave.
Second.
Second by Bernie. All in favor?
Uh,
Okay. Make a motion motion for October 8th, 2024 workshop meeting minutes. Need a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Dave, second by Tim. All in favor? Okay, all right. We all move the page. Okay, these are items for discussion with public comments. R2, ordinance update of Munhall zoning. We talked about a little bit about this earlier in the meeting, didn't we?
Yeah, we discussed it. I can comment on the update. Is that okay, we'll just move on to that?
Sure.
Yeah, as council's aware, the mayor and the public, I was directed to prepare a zoning ordinance amendment to allow a new permitted use in the R2 zone only, which will allow for the redevelopment of existing structures, including churches, schools, or recreational facilities. It's my understanding we've had developers approached us about some of these buildings may be abandoned or vacant and could be redeveloped and reused, which would be beneficial to the tax base. But the ordinance, as written, as we have now, didn't permit that. So we came up with an ordinance. I drafted it. Council approved it as required. With any new zoning ordinance, you must send it to the Allegheny County Planning Department for their review. Give them 45 days to review. They did. I received a response. They made some suggestions, and I was going to get Dave's input on this. Dave, I don't know, did you see the county review, Dave, the letter?
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing they had suggested was it may be beneficial to include an appendix to the ordinance identifying these locations by parcel number so that it is not open to interpretation as to what applies. I'm not sure what specific buildings, Dave, you're probably aware, which parcels include buildings that would be applicable to this ordinance change. I don't know how many there are, but.
Not many. I mean, in that R2 area, probably just that building itself. And maybe if, I'd have to look Charles Street, our old borough, or our old fire station.
Okay.
That's probably the only two.
So I don't know that that's necessary. I mean, it's up to us. These aren't mandatory, these comments by the county, just suggestions. They also, of course, typically as they do, just say, make sure you consider the potential for increased residential density. Make sure that the borough is providing for adequate infrastructure, including traffic, water, and sewer availability. I don't think any of those are issues, Dave.
No, because that was like, the building that we're in discussion was an old school.
And they do make a comment about the ordinance. It refers to R1 residential district. I had to look at that 2 or 3 times when I first saw it, but that's what it says in the original ordinance. It talks about, refers back to R1. That's not something we have to concern ourselves with. So if council is satisfied with the ordinance as is, we're going to have to advertise it and hold a public hearing and vote to adopt it. So if we're not going to make any changes, then we could have a motion tonight to direct the manager to advertise if council is satisfied with it. Dave, you've read the county's review. Do you recommend or think any changes or amendments need to be made to the draft that we have?
I think it's fine, the way it's
Fine
you
as
drafted.
is?
Yeah, it's fine. The you drafted
Okay,
it.
so council,
Well, before we go
Yeah.
and do that, let's ask for any public comments.
sure.
Bill?
I guess I understand for redevelopment, and I looked at that, but my understanding, these are gonna be apartment buildings, correct? They're gonna be apartments?
Correct.
So R2 doesn't have apartments, R4 does. So I don't quite understand why. I mean, there are exceptions that you can apply for and everything else, but, I mean, I would think, existing structures for redevelopment, in my mind, would make more sense as something global, not just on one particular ordinance. And, excuse my ignorance on the zoning process, because I don't understand it all that well, but I don't understand why we would apply it. Right now, there is exceptions in R2 for schools and churches and cemeteries and everything else. This was a school. It's now going to become an apartment building. but apartment buildings are under R4. Now, maybe I'm, mixing something up here, but it would seem if it would make more sense, and if you can do it, can that property be rezoned as R4?
Absolutely not. That'd be spot zoning, that's totally illegal now.
Okay, like I said, I asked a question.
Oh, sorry, R2 does provide for multifamily residential use.
But it doesn't, R4 is specific about apartments. So, and excuse my ignorance on the subject, but are multifamily, dwellings and apartments the same thing by zoning?
We'd have to look at the definition. I don't have the whole zoning ordinance, but the idea, I think it is that if you have an interested developer, you have a vacant
Yeah, I
building.
agree with that.
Let's repurpose it and put it back to use.
I agree completely with that.
Okay.
I guess that, I know David has in the budget for next year and the following year to redo or have a look at ordinances. These ordinances are from 1997, and there was a debate several years ago about redevelopment of a property right there, and there was a lot of discussion over that one. So if I'm going to plug for David in the $25K per year to have all these ordinances looked at. But if I'm all for the fact of repurposing property. Yeah, that makes sense. So I just don't understand, multifamily and apartments are the same thing. So if Dave, you say you can't repurpose it, can't rezone it, well then I guess what you would have to do if this is deemed an apartment, you're gonna need to modify R2 that it can have essentially R4 dwellings in it. There's only two differences in that. It just addresses apartments, so, just food for thought, I guess. So it would make sense to me what Greg is saying in reference to repurposing for development. So, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
I just have one additional comment, Matt Bovee, 2315 Longary Street. To build on what Bill was saying, it sounds like you're still looking to spot zone one thing with a workaround. But really, what would be maybe a better solution to this in the long term, a lot of modern zoning codes will have a provision. It's a separate carve out for adaptive reuse or repurposing of buildings, which could be used in basically any zone because, we may eventually have other buildings. We may have a park school in the future that falls in this category that's not an R2 zone. We may have empty warehouse buildings or something that may qualify. So there are other zoning code models that take into account reusing buildings that didn't originally fit within that purpose but still are in the borough's interest without having to spot zone or rezone or reclassify or change some of the permitted uses within certain zones.
So can we ask our solicitor then, indeed, the county reviewed this and they feel that that's okay? They're not saying it's spot zoning?
But definitely not spot zoning.
So
We're
they're
not
saying-
changing
they're
the
saying-
zoning, we're just adding a new permitted use.
Right, so it's not a zoning change, it's a use change.
I get it,
So-
but as it only affects one
Property.
it has the appearance of spot zoning. That's all I'm saying.
No,
And I think
it would
seems like everyone is for
It has the exact appearance of
It,
spot zoning.
Right,
it would
and
affect
we
two properties,
discussed
because
that.
there's two properties in an R2 area,
Okay.
as of right now. Like you said, we do have other areas where buildings are similar like this, in the R1 down northern Munhall. There's a lot of churches,
Right.
Propel School,
So I mean,
stuff like
it
that.
may be beneficial
Park
to
School,
expand that.
Park School's in a B, I want to say B2 area, so they may not have that problem.
Very good.
So we don't have too many buildings that are affected.
Yeah.
Well, there are whole sections in the zoning code. There's one under conditional uses. It addresses a lot of this. And there's another one for non-conforming lots and structures, which would apply to vacant lots.
Well, that's a different,
Yeah,
that's a
that's a
whole
totally
different
different
animal.
I agree, but, these two articles are specifically pointed out, okay, as exceptions, okay? They're very clear with that, but, in my mind, if you had something, and I agree with Matt, is that probably when you go to look at the ordinances is really revamp the zoning to make it, one, easier, and two, make it more up to date. I mean, I don't think anybody would say, I would like to have abandoned structures sitting there versus to have structures right there that would be of use, so, thank you.
Well, it would be a great idea to have a comprehensive zoning plan redone. It's very expensive, and every municipality should have it done periodically, but it could be cost prohibitive. To have a company come in, a professional company, and they review your entire zoning ordinance, and they meet with council and members of the public, and you reevaluate your plan for the future for the borough, and they revamp the entire zoning ordinance. And it's a great thing to do, but you gotta be able to pay for it. And you could accomplish all these things that you gentlemen are talking about in that process, but you have to be able to fund it.
Greg, what's the cost on that?
I haven't looked into it, Tim, but I know it's expensive. I mean, Dave could, make some inquiries, I could talk to him about it. But it would be a good thing for this borough or any municipality to do that periodically. It really updates your zoning codes and ordinance. And it's a lengthy process. I mean, it'll probably take, from start to finish, it could take a year. But it's a good thing, but yet it's expensive. We'll start finding out what.
Is there any funding through DCED that could possibly help us with that? I mean, because.
For a comprehensive zoning plan, I don't know.
How many
Maybe we
different
can talk to
zoning,
Dan. I don't know, maybe,
zoning areas do we have?
maybe Dan has some ideas about that.
It's our zoning ordinance.
I mean, this is something we have to look at and try to.
Yeah, that's a good idea, but,
There's always
Yeah.
money out there for plans and studies.
Do you have any leads or anything like that?
Talk to Dan, he can get more specific about it.
So what is the actual discussion here? When are we looking to vote on something like this? Is this just a discussion point, or we want to talk about
well, it's a
this next
discussion.
month?
The question is if council is ready to move forward. First, do you want to make any changes? Dave doesn't think any are necessary. There's no required changes or any illegalities pointed out by the county planning department, just some suggestions, so legally we can move forward as is.
So we did vote on this to do this?
Just to draft the ordinance.
Just to draft the
I
ordinance.
drafted it, sent
Okay.
it to the county, so the next step is we have to have a motion to advertise it, if the council's interested in doing that.
Okay.
When will we have the public hearing after we advertise?
Yes,
So we could actually have the public hearing before the next meeting, if we go through with the process.
we have to advertise
But
it.
it all follows through with the advertisement, we'd be ready for December?
If
For the
we
public hearing.
If we advertise, yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's, Dave would have to figure
You
that out.
do it in a timely manner.
If there's time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you could advertise it to be done before the council meeting or the
Right, that's
council
what I'm thinking.
workshop or whatever.
We could have it done next month if
If
follows.
you chose. Okay, so. Things have changed so much in the past couple of years about voting and voting on procedures and procedural voting. So if could someone make a motion to vote on this tonight?
it's not on
Would have to be next month? Would have to be on the agenda?
It's not on the
Agenda.
published agenda 24 hours in advance. It has to
Right.
be an emergency or de minimis. There's a cost associated with the advertisement. I mean, in excess of caution, I'd wait
Right,
until.
that's what I'm
December.
asking you.
Right.
That's what I'm asking you. So we can discuss this right now, and that's what this is about. So we can,
It's on the agenda, isn't it?
no,
It's not on it to be voted on.
What,
it's on it to be discussed.
It's just a discussion. It's not listed as a motion.
we need to fix this agenda. I mean, we just voted on, meeting minutes from the last one. Now we're discussing on something else that we're not voting on. Then we're going to comment on some things other things we're gonna vote on. I think we need to streamline this agenda, like discussion items, reports, discussion items, and then voting items. because we voted, then we're discussing something, now we're going back to vote on something else, like, it's a hot mess.
Well, here,
We gotta be streamlined.
not trying to argue with you, but this item has never been thoroughly discussed. It hasn't been discussed, what, the proposal's just been written and gotten back to us from Allegheny County, so we're doing our due diligence in discussing this, and then, like I just said earlier, the laws have changed where you can't do that, what you'd like to do right
Rick,
now.
I understand that, then we should discuss this for next month's workshop meeting, because that's what we have discussions for, is for the workshop meeting and not. So we're just adding more things to this month's meeting, this week's meeting for no reason. That's my understanding.
Well, the reason is because I would have put it on the workshop meeting last week, but Greg wasn't at the workshop meeting, so there's a chance for him to talk about it here. That's why it's on the meeting here, otherwise I wouldn't have put it on here.
Tim, am I understanding you right? You're just saying that the item for discussion should have been before the approving the minutes.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Right, we started voting on something, then now we're discussing.
Now we're back
Well,
to discussing, then we're
the
gonna go
defense
back
of
to
that,
vote
the
again.
minutes are a very specific item that you basically just accept at the beginning of the meeting anyways. Now, I could move it back, it's just, it's not like there's any discussion for the minutes, it's just approve the minutes. It's a requirement basically to approve the minutes of the previous meetings. That's why that's separately put out.
But the thing is, say, Mr. Bell, we had a question on, the minutes or something, and had a question on it, there was nothing for him to question. I mean,
The minutes basically are automatically at the next meeting entered into public record. Unless there's something very blatantly not included, but that rarely ever happens. But I can do it, I can push it back, we can have a discussion before the minutes, but the public doesn't currently have access to the minutes. I mean, however the council wants me to restructure the
The
agenda.
public does have access, because the public can view the
They can view the
videos, so they do have public access. So that's not a totally true statement, but you could, I believe, like, the secretaries years ago used to write up the minutes, right? And they'd print the minutes out, and here's the minutes.
And you have the minutes.
Right, here they are. Read them. There's not, and they weren't a verbatim, per se, like a legal secretary, like my wife here, printing out every word. It was just covered by a general assessment of what was talked about. And, so I'm not. So do we want to just move on, or do we want to continue this conversation about the R2 ordinance update to the Munhall zoning?
Are we ready to move on?
Okay. All right, so I'm really interested in this number 2 item, the tax forgiveness for property development, including the LERTA programs. So Dave or our solicitor can fill us in
Yeah, I
on
can
that.
talk about this. I've had numerous discussions with Councilman Yunkins about a program. He brought to my attention, put me in touch with the Homestead Borough manager about a program they're running, and it's come up before discussion about a temporary tax exemption, temporary tax forgiveness, and how it operates. I got some documents from the manager. I spoke to the Homestead Borough solicitor so I could fully understand under what legal authority this program is being operated and how it's working for them. And I spoke to him last month. He said they like the program. They've only had one property go all the way through to completion, but they have more in the pipeline. So the way it works is there's an application and the documents, most of the documents are already, they're available in Homestead. And we can just cut and paste and copy these documents. I've reviewed them all carefully. And the way it works, so this isn't a typical like a LERTA ordinance. This is something different. So what Homestead does is they identify either code officer, zoning officer, vacant or abandoned properties that they think are good potentials to be rehabilitated. and they would identify those as possible properties that would be eligible for this program. And then an individual or a company that is interested in redeveloping that property and it does not own it, doesn't own it at the time, would present a petition to this council asking that the taxes be waived for a period. There's a schedule that they follow. I don't have my finger on it right now. There's a tax forgiveness schedule for a period of years.
It dropped down percentage-wise?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, just like Alerta would.
Right.
And so the applicants have not yet acquired ownership, and they have to fill out a numerous forms and satisfy the council and code enforcement and the zoning officer that they qualify. And when they do, then they would go ahead, we'd approve them, they would go ahead and acquire ownership to the property, and they have to get a building permit, and they have to complete all the improvements. And the tax forgiveness cannot exceed the value of the improvements they're gonna put back in the property. So for example, if they say, I'm gonna put $50,000 in to rehab this property, then according to the schedule, they could be eligible for up to $50,000 in tax forgiveness. Because we know it's going back into the property, it's gonna increase substantially the value of the property, which will increase the real estate tax revenue for the borough in the future. And there are a lot of steps and requirements. I'm not gonna go into detail, but the documents are available. But Homestead likes the program. I said to the solicitor, what authority do you have to have these taxes then reduced or waived for some of these back taxes? And what they do is they file a petition in the court. So that's different from Alerta. We wouldn't have to go to court because there's a statute that authorizes this tax forgiveness. So the school district would have to be on board. I assume that they would because they're already involved in this program with Homestead.
Right.
And I asked about the county, and he said, well, what they do with the county is when they're preparing the petition to go to court asking that these taxes be waived or forgiven, they notify the county, explain the program that's going on. He said the county, in the one instance they've had, and they discussed with the county solicitor, said they just don't show up. And then you actually get a court order from a judge. So that's the legal authority. It's not based necessarily on statute, it's coming from a court order that is waiving or abating these taxes to allow for the redevelopment of vacant abandoned property. So I'm satisfied in my legal research. I looked at this pretty carefully. If council's interested in moving forward, I talked to Mr. Yunkins, as I said numerous times. I know he's interested in the program. Then I can talk more to David about it and talk to the homestead manager and get all the documents and start changing them and incorporating them so that we can use them here in Munhall. And that's how it works. So that's kind of the summary. Does anyone have any questions?
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Greg, how do they acquire the property?
Well, the applicants would have to buy it. I don't know how they get it. They have to buy it from
Okay, so,
the current owner. But they can't own the property. In other words, we're not gonna give tax forgiveness.
so they gotta find the owner,
They have to find the
acquire
owner.
the property.
And they have to find the owner and they have to start the application and get our approval before they buy it. So
But
make sure someone doesn't pull a fast one.
But the difficult part that me and Mr. Brennan have learned in the past, it's hard acquiring the property.
Yeah.
If the person's dead or
Yeah,
can't be found, or, so
Well,
it's up to
understand,
the,
this is the same problem everywhere, Dave, you're right. Homestead, you know, they said they have a lot in the pipeline, and they like it, and developers are interested, they found these properties. You'd have to leave that up to, you know, a rehab person or developer to, you gotta find the owner and find a way to acquire ownership. And then, if you put all these repairs into the property, spend the money on rehabilitation, then we're gonna give you the tax forgiveness. So,
interesting,
yeah.
very interesting.
I think it sounds great too, but I just want to say, I thought we joined the land bank so that we didn't have to deal, I didn't say join the land bank.
This
It was passed.
this circumvents the land bank, it goes right around the land bank.
But we're paying the land bank,
What's that?
right? Are we going to be paying the
Oh, yeah.
land bank?
But we're not paying these ones.
No, not this, but then you have to wonder why would the land bank.
Well,
We've got 77 properties.
Any,
Make one call 77.
any attacks, any strategy to do with land requires more than just one strategy. This is
Absolutely.
one of several.
Absolutely. I think it's a great idea.
Improving zoning is another, there's a bunch of things you have to do to get this problem handled.
We looked at we had the form here, we looked at the application, several months ago. And, if it's legal, because you were just kind of skeptical at the time whether it was legal or not.
Because I didn't know of any statute that authorizes such a program. When I talked to the solicitor about how they do it, they ultimately get a court order. If I get a court order, that makes it legal.
There you go. So I'm all in favor of it. I think we should see what happens, it can't hurt. Yes, sir.
So I guess just a couple questions. So I understand the idea. So the tax forgiveness is up to the amount of the improvements total.
That's what I believe, yeah, and there's so many pages here,
Yeah.
Bill. I'm trying to find the schedule that they use, and we don't have to follow exactly what they do,
So is
Yeah.
this aimed particularly at people that want to own the property, or is this aimed at people that develop property for both, or
It's for anybody, but
for anyone? So there is a difference between the land.
I think that there was if I remember, and I could be wrong, that there was a time period where you had to own the house a certain period of time, or no?
I'm not sure exactly. That's why I gave everything to Greg, because he's a
Yeah.
lawyer.
Well, you cannot own it when you apply. You're not gonna give tax forgiveness.
You gotta be buying it, right?
Right, you have
You
to
say, I wanna buy the property, but I wanna know I'm eligible for this program, and if you certify that I'm eligible to enter this program, I'm gonna acquire ownership and start the process. And there are timelines that have to be met.
Right. I think there are
And you don't
timelines.
get the forgiveness until the end. You know, you have to go through
Yeah,
the
once you
program,
got it.
get the building permit, spend the money, renovate the property, all right, now we'll go take care and get a court order. So you gotta prove.
Once you prove it yourself.
Say,
Right.
yes.
And that's what they're doing.
And they've done one's
One
gone through the
just
process.
reporting to solicitor, one has been completed, and they have other ones in process.
There's at least 2 different developers in the process right now.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We're not gonna give any kind of forgiveness to anybody who's gonna sit on a property and not do anything with it.
Right,
That's the
right,
And it's not costing us anything.
the cost.
right, doesn't cost you a penny.
Oh, I disagree with that statement, because think about it. So you're giving, make it simple, okay? We'll say the taxes on that property were $1,500.
Okay.
And let's just say that they were gonna put in $30K worth of improvements,
Okay,
okay? So, and let's say it takes them 5 years to do this. So you're gonna collect the taxes for the first 5 years, then you're gonna give them forgiveness on those taxes, the $7,500. And then you got another 15.
It's just the delinquent taxes
Yeah, it's
prior
just
to
the
the
way-
ownership.
No,
No,
nothing
no.
forward.
It's exonerated
Nothing forward.
prior.
No,
0 forward.
0 forward.
In fact, moving forward, they're gonna reassess it based on
Okay.
the value you put in it.
So,
And
if
it really
that's,
increases the
if
tax.
that's the case,
If they're
then,
doing these houses, they're getting them for whatever they're paying for them. They're remortgaging them for over
I mean, their legal fees
$200,000.
to accomplish this are not gonna be insignificant.
What's that?
Their legal fees to accomplish, to buy the property are not gonna be insignificant.
I wouldn't think
It's
so.
not gonna be nothing on us, though.
But that's part of the problem. I think
Well,
the delinquent taxes right now make
Right.
overall projects cost prohibitive.
Yes.
So the idea is the borough's willing to break a little bread initially
Right.
in order to
To get some,
eventually get
to
the
get
value.
a dinner later.
it
And you
also
get them back
depends
on
where
the
that
tax roll.
property is.
Of course, that's the
It-
truth.
There are extreme swings in taxes in Munhall,
Sure.
very extreme. It's not even,
Other municipalities have done this. I know Wilkinsburg has a
Okay.
project similar, and they have had some, more than one.
I can't see it being a hindrance, I could see it only helping a little bit.
May I ask one question, Mr. President?
Sure.
Is it the developer's attorneys who get the court order, or the borough will get the court order?
We do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or, let me ask this, is there a process by where the developer's attorney could propose the court order and the borough, school district, and county would not oppose it?
I suppose it's possible, but if I wanna have taxes forgiven,
Yeah.
I think the judge is gonna wanna see me coming in.
The taxing
Just the
authority.
borough, yeah,
Gotcha, I understand.
Certainly.
the borough and school
Usually
coming in,
The
so,
county just don't show up.
yeah.
We just forget.
Thanks.
So, yeah, I think it would need to come from the municipality or the school district.
Sure.
Okay, so, do we want Greg to look into this further? Do we wanna,
I'd
it's
say
not,
yes.
it's not on the agenda to vote on, but we're not, it wouldn't be any cost to us to move forward with this, would it?
If council's interested, I'll work with David and make sure we acquire all the forms, make sure he and I have a complete understanding, start to finish, and what's needed to begin implementing the program.
So why
And then
don't,
we bring it to council for approval.
why don't we do that then?
Okay.
We can have that maybe ready for next month, so we can start it the new year.
Okay.
Makes sense.
I just want to request, so as far as, the only cost of the borough would be the solicitor's fee to do that, okay?
Certainly.
So the file the paperwork.
I can't think of anything else.
What's that?
I can't think of anything else.
Well,
Expensive,
the
right.
borough manager's time and everything.
Right, right.
Time.
That's the price of doing business.
But, well, I'm just comparing it to sheriff's sales.
Right.
Okay, so if you look at it, I know the number we've thrown about is $5,000. So I believe it'll be less than $5,000, so. So Homestead has had, how long have they had the program in practice at this point?
I couldn't answer that.
I think like what is it, Tim? 3 to 5
Tim, you know?
years?
At least, I think, 4 years. I
thought it was between 3 and 5.
the one developer just texted me, said he's finalizing everything right now on his last 2 applications, and it should be approved. Both the houses appraised at $275,000 on West 10th Avenue. So, I mean, that's good.
Yeah, it is.
So I really think, let the attorney and Dave work this out, bring it back to us. I think it's just another tool to move forward. And I don't think that it's gonna do everything, because look at the amount of houses they've done in 4 years. And it takes time to go through that. And we need to look at the forms and the applications
Yeah.
again and see what's all entailed in the process again. And we can move forward with that and move forward in that, looking at it into the beginning of next year. I think it's that, along with the land bank, and still, we can still do sheriff's sales. So we can move forward and fight blight. So we're not gonna vote on this tonight. We're certainly we're certainly gonna ask our attorney Greg and Dave to look at this and get us some more information, and we can move maybe to a vote next month. Is that okay?
Yeah, that'll be our
Is
plan.
it okay, council?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm assuming this is different from conservatorship, correct?
Yes.
Is
It is.
that's a separate thing?
Yep.
And then,
Conservatorship is a totally separate thing.
And then the second thing was, I had spoken to the president and vice president of Steel Valley School Board, and they weren't aware of the tax forgiveness program, which is interesting. I would assume by a court order that would be, they might not be aware of that or be in the day-to-day of that. I don't think they're opposed to this type of program, but the understanding when I was pursuing this was that they were unfamiliar with this
Well, we
program.
want to make sure they're aware of it and they agree to participate.
Right.
That makes it more attractive for prospective purchasers.
That's why I took it to solicitors.
Right.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Put the 2 solicitors together and then let them talk it out.
Mr. President, that property, the one property was assessed at $9,000, and now, with it being $275, even when you get, was it 54% of that, it's going to be.
They've been empty so long.
Exactly.
It's
They're
gonna
dead.
be-
They're dead.
it's
They're
definitely
dead properties.
Nobody was gonna try
It's
to
going to
fix
help the
them.
borough
Right.
tremendously.
Doesn't happen.
I think we need to look into it. I'm in favor of it. Okay, so
PJ wants to ask you something.
can we move on to the item number 3?
PJ.
PJ wanted a question.
PJ.
No, I just wanted to say, I mean, I think it's a good program, I mean, from what we talked about from last month.
Sure.
However, I do think that the school district should know about it because Simpson's already doing it. So,
Yeah, they would
you know,
know.
not saying that Munhall, you know, not having that, so they would have to be made aware of it because it's
I'm
already in the pipeline.
PJ, I'm sure that our solicitor and our borough manager will send a letter to the school district.
Oh, yeah.
Letting them know that we're starting to implement this program and ask for their blessing.
How could the school district be aware of it if Homestead had been involved with it?
Now, that's a good question.
That was my point.
That was my question as well.
Right.
They have to be aware of it.
Right, so
Maybe
that's
the school
something,
board members weren't, that's their solicitor.
right, and that's, and,
Yes.
you know,
That's not on us.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So, we need to see the program and the whole thing again, and we'll discuss it next month, and we'll hopefully move to get it done in January. I think it's a strong move. All right, so I'm gonna go to number 3, unless you have anything else to say, PJ.
No, good, thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, Allegheny County Health Grant Award of $186,000 for electric vehicles. Dave, you did mention this earlier, covered that. So, any other questions on that, guys, people? Okay, all right, so we're gonna move on to public comments on items for consideration. Notice all public speakers addressing council comments will be limited to 3 minutes, and we do not speak about persons, places, okay, personalities, names. Thank you. Any questions on what we're going to be voting on?
Agenda
Yeah,
Agenda.
I'm Brad Petriga, 1332 Margaret. I just was curious what the $22,000 was coming out of, as far as the line items on the budget go. If it were to pass.
I would say it's probably gonna be coming out of coming directly from the general fund, but specifically it's probably coming out of the excess funds that are put aside, about $100,000 in contingency in the budget.
What $22,000?
For the repair of the fire engine, we talked about it at the workshop last.
Oh, okay.
It's the only thing.
That's half.
That's
We
how.
got 22,000 more to pay on top of it.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, so let's make a motion here to pay the bills for the period of October 1st through October 1st, 2024 through October 31st, 2024, summarized as follows.
Motion.
Okay. Well, I just want to mention the numbers here. These are very large numbers this.
The reason they're
this time.
large is because we did the longevity pay for the police.
Ah, okay.
Basically the second payroll.
Okay, I got it. All right, so it's $1,714,950.28. And then also $1,403,91.36. These are two separate numbers,
No,
correct?
one is including payroll, so basically the total amount. The second number is the money of the not including the payroll expenses.
Okay.
That's the difference.
I was gonna
You're not
say,
paying the both.
whoa.
You're paying basically the 1.7 million.
Okay, very good. So just if anyone has any questions on that, that's what this is all. So I need a motion. Motion by Mr. Bodadian, second by Dave Yumpkins. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion to approve payroll for the period ending October 10th of $162,216.39. And then October 24th of $162,815.03 with a grand total of $325,031.42. Need a motion. Motion by Mr. Yumpkins, second by Mr. Bodadian.
I got a question.
Question on the motion.
You said you did the longevity, but they're only off by like $400, so.
The longevity would have been
was put
included in
somewhere else.
No, actually, it doesn't, the,
Well,
You're going back to the other-
272.
yeah, no,
And down to
the longevity is not
71,000.
included in this one. It's the other bills. The big expense for this year is a bunch of bills, mostly insurance, which is front-loaded, $400,000. And some expenditures in public works, probably paving, and then also money for the fire department. So those were the bigger money. That's why it's been higher this year.
So-
That does not include longevity.
All right, so then shouldn't the longevity be? included?
The longevity will be in the next.
Next payroll.
Next payroll.
Next payroll,
It came
okay.
out at the beginning of this month. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's the difference.
Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
No, it's unanimous. Okay, vote to pay for $22,283.70 as the first installment for the replacement of the Hale RDC pump for fire station number 4.
Motion.
Second.
Who was the motion by?
Tim.
Tim? Second by, was it you, Bernie?
Yes.
Second by Bernie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The question on that, the fire companies, that also need work done, is that gonna be, addressed at a certain time?
Well, I'm sure that,
What are you,
that any item.
about? Well, for instance, the ladder on, one of the vehicles don't work.
That's already been discussed, we're just waiting on the part.
Pardon me?
That's already been discussed, we're just waiting on the part.
Well, I don't know that, it wasn't discussed at the meeting.
Yes, it was. I brought it up.
I don't think you were here.
Yeah, he wasn't here last week. It was discussed in the last workshop.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay,
You're welcome, Pat, you're welcome.
all right, so we did vote on that, motion number 3 there. Do we get a total vote on that, or no? We got a first and a second, all in favor?
It passed.
That's what I'm asking, that's what I'm asking, right, that's what I'm doing. Public comments on non-agenda items. Any public comments on non-agenda items?
I just wanted clarification on the budget meetings. So this Thursday, the council is meeting on the budget, and then in December is the public meeting. So if you said the draft budget will be available this Friday.
This Friday, I'll have a.
So, I know in the last budget meeting, finance meeting, we discussed options that were there, which I'm sure are gonna be discussed. Is it also being discussed about potentially increasing the number of folks in the police department at this point?
Well, that'll be hammered out at this Thursday's meeting.
This
If the
Thursday's
council
meeting.
wants to, me to refine the numbers. I've already spoken with the departments and gotten a budget that maybe is not ideal, but it's
We're getting
workable.
that ladder fixed.
But if the council wants to make changes, they have the, they can instruct them on forward.
We have some personnel matters we're trying to clear up right now.
Well, that's what number 4 is.
We'll know more on Thursday.
Yep, this will.
I think the priority all the time should be things that, benefit the public at large, public safety.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Okay, any other questions on non-agenda items? If not, we'll move on.
Motion.
Second.
So I need a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I hate you too.
Any
I really
nays?
hate you too.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for attending.
I was one step ahead.